Welcome to A Course in Miracles. We continue where we left off on Wednesday last week. Yeah. So text chapter 26, the transition, the immediacy of salvation. And this chapter really looks at the understanding or our understanding of what we think space-time matter really is, and why we don't trust our deeper understanding of what forgiveness really is, and why we cannot seem to step out of the victimhood identity, and why we hang on to unforgiven thoughts and keep punishing ourselves and recreating our own misery because we believe that certain people don't deserve to be forgiven. So we will rather want to hang on to our grievances and hate and then complain that we haven't ended our suffering. And yet the reason you haven't ended your suffering is because you're hanging on to your beliefs of punishment. So the one remaining problem that you have, wow, okay, if you were to say that to some people, it could be a long list, is that you see an interval between the time when you forgive and will receive the benefits of trust in your brother. Now let's stop there for a second. Let's say that you're suffering because of your idea of what you are and who you are and who's done you bad and blah, 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 blah. Do you realize that if you totally let go, completely, and you realize I created all of this, I dreamt this dream up, I dreamt up my brothers, all of them, because remember, the dualistic idea is God, this dude, God, he created this universe, created people, and then plonked you here, and then shoved a soul up your Uranus. There it is. And gave you a third eye, so those two are in balance. And yeah, you are a little soul in your little body, and everybody else is a motherfucker. Everybody else is out to hurt you. You're perfect. You're a little saint. You've done nothing wrong. And you think now, everybody's hurt you, and if you forgive them, then they're forgiven and you keep suffering. And so fuck them. They should suffer, those little motherfuckers, because they've hurt me. So I'm not forgiving them. I'll suffer, but they'll suffer because I hold them responsible. Wow. Do you realize that's how the world processes? Do you realize how the course teachers teach this is forgive and you will be free? What the fuck are you talking about? Forgive and you, what does forgive mean? Do you not realize that to give and to receive are one and the same thing? So forgiving and receiving are the same thing. When you forgive, you receive what? Forgiveness, release. And it's instant. So when you're suffering and telling yourself your stories of suffering, where are you in suffering? What are you doing when you're suffering now and crying and you're all upset? What are you doing? You're resonating in the vibration of miserable wrench. And therefore, what are you doing? You're attracting what? More miserable wrench. And what are you creating a future of? More miserable. How does it help? You get in a kumbaya circle like many people do in the course community, hold hands, sing together, look each other in the face, and tell each other their stories of suffering. Oh, we feel better. We have a release. Now we've told our stories. Really? The ego is feeling fantastic. That's why you feel better. And then what happens tomorrow? It's back. Why? You haven't released it. You keep telling your same illusionary suffering story. What happens? You stay there. You not notice some people, every time you see them, you just want to walk the other way. Why? They open their mouths and all the suffering comes out. Do you like people that constantly burden you with their suffering? I fucking don't. I just avoid them like the plague. Normally, Patri, Filii, Spiritus Sancto, Amen, bless you, walk away. I could be making a lot of money if I listen to people complain all day long. I could just open my psychotherapy practice again. I couldn't do it anymore because I couldn't listen to people suffering because I know it's not real. Oh, but Liz, you have no compassion. Oh, I do, lots. Compassion for the self. I have zero empathy, absolutely zero empathy, none, proudly so. Empathy is ego. It's absorbing other people's idea of suffering, making it your own, and now both of you cry. Now both of you suffer because you have empathy. This is the biggest bullshit ego excuse you ever heard in your life. Ego equals simple empathy. Empathy, ego is the same thing. Sympathy is not far off. Spirit is compassionate. It understands, and when it sees you suffer, it doesn't see you suffer. True compassion is, I realize you're dreaming, but I know the truth of you, and I don't buy into your idea of yourself as someone who suffers. I see you holy, and I send you love. That's compassion. So you don't realize that the benefits of trusting your brother. Now, yes, there's going to be some people in this world that just can't be trusted, because they just don't have it in them, but they're just using reason. You're now not going to act like a fool, say, well, the Course in Miracles told me I should. But also realize this much. You'll always attract people into your space to show you what your beliefs are. And so if you think all men are arseholes, you're only going to attract arseholes into your life. If you think all women are bitches and they all cheat, well, that's what you're going to attract. Trust me, I did. That's what I did. I remanifested cheaters because I wasn't being honest with myself. I was really cheating myself out of being fully, openly, authentically the self I am. Not holding back from self. I was cheating myself out of the love of God I deserve and am. And so the world reflected it back at me. And what a wonderful lesson, because I needed to learn to love self and to accept self and to be myself consciously and presently. And I needed to learn to be at one and all one. And I kept drawing into my own life lessons that were trying to teach me that it was impossible for me to love unless I could first know that I am. It's only taken me 55 years to figure it out, so there's hope for the rest of us. Love is not something that someone gives you. Love is what we are. Love is the absence of body. It's the absence of time. It's the absence of space. It's the knowing of ourself as that which is the Holy Son of God, the extension of God, the extension of Source, the unconditional, all-encompassing, loving essence of God. How can we not trust all of it? Now, if only the untrusting don't trust. And so realize that when you don't trust, you're going to attract people to show you how you feel. When you start to trust, you start to reframe the world, see it new, and all of a sudden you realize these people I could trust, I just didn't because I didn't trust myself. To be what? It doesn't mean that I kept attracting cheaters into my life. It didn't mean I was going to cheat. It just meant I didn't trust myself. So I attracted people that demonstrated my lack of trust. The minute I could trust, I saw it anew. I realized it was all me. It had nothing to do with them. I was creating. And it's like that in everything in this world. It's all the self. And this but reflects the little you would keep between you and your brother. Because what is the scariest thing for the identity is not just death, but the fact that it's forgotten. That's why we want to understand the spirit world and hope we're going to meet with our loved ones there and still have our mommy and our daddy and our doggy and our horsey and our best friends. And we're going to all be happily together listening to angel music in the spirit world where we're going to live forever happily after. Unless you were married to 3 people and you loved all 3 of them and they had just accidentally died before you did. So now which one do you hang out with? Imagine that story. See how confusing that bullshit story is. It's bullshit. Okay, so what's the distance between you and I right now? Where are you experiencing me in your awareness? You think I'm on the screen, go deeper. Where are you experiencing me? Are you hearing me can you hear your eardrums moving? No. Can you sense me in your eyes? No. Where's your sense awareness of me? It's in your awareness. That's the distance between you and I. That's the distance between God and you. Awareness. Yeah. In your awareness. I'm pointing at the head, but it's beyond the head. That you might be a little separate. We don't want to give up our autonomy. We don't want to give up our little identity. For all the love in the world, we still want to hang on to identity. We want to hang on to our freedom. We don't want to melt into someone and then with the two halves become one, unless you, Jerry Maguire and the miserable chick, whatever her name was. For time and space are one illusion, which takes different forms. Time and space, one illusion, which takes different forms. If it has been projected beyond your mind, which everything is, because what we experience as physicality is a projection beyond mind, awareness. You think of it as time. The nearer it is brought to where it is, the more you think of it in terms of space. And so time becomes then and now, and space is here and there. So when we collapse time and space, we get the now here, the here and now, the eternal here and now. When we get into illusion, we split it. It's no longer the eternal here and now. It's the then and the there, and the here and the there, and the I and the you, and the we and the them. And we start to fragment. And you think about it, the entire universe. When we think of all the fish in the ocean, they're all fish in the ocean. The whole ocean is connected. So little fishy in Africa, Atlantic is connected to the fishy in the Indian Ocean or in the Antarctic Ocean. They're all connected via the water. So we think of the ocean as one ocean. One universe where everything is part of one universe. So everything existing in the universe must be part of one organism called the universe. So even from a scientific, materialistic perspective, everything is connected. Even from a materialist point of view, which is opposing consciousness and awareness. Materialism completely opposes it, and yet the materialists can't argue with the fact that the whole universe is one organism, everything's interconnected. There's no separation other than the appearance of separate entities and bodies and objects. And yet, where is all of it experienced? In awareness, in each object's, sentient object's awareness. When you close your eyes, where are you experiencing the universe? In your dreaming awareness, in your dreaming mind. What is awareness? Mind. And it's either right mind, which is awareness of awareness, or wrong mind, activities, thoughts, ideas, feelings, sensations, body. There is a distance that you would keep apart from your brother, because you need your identity. And who would you be if you weren't yourself? And who would you be if you didn't have your independence? And we hate governments because they want to control our autonomy. We hate authority because it wants to control our autonomy. We hate school teachers, or maybe that's just me, Man, did I dislike school teachers? Because they want to tell you what to do. They want to tell you what no one must tell you what to do. There is a difference, a distance that you'd like to keep from your brother. And this space you perceive as time, because you still believe you're external to him. Man, did I watch the clock and have an agenda and diaries and manage time, and used to have to plan everything in total detail. Then I met a fairy and she completely flipped that on my head. I used to be so Like I'm still on time for meetings. That, because it's just respect. If you've agreed to meet at a certain time, I agree to it. But for me, times and dates and events and calendars and birthdays, and they were so important. And she didn't live in time at all. And yeah, that took me a good 15 years to get rid of as a predominant activity of my life, time. Because we say there's some live through time and some live in time. I definitely lived in it. Now it's actually neither in it or through it. It's irrelevant. We have a joke in Africa that says in Germany and in Switzerland you have watches. In Africa we have time. So we've collapsed time into a term called just now, which means anywhere between right now and never. I'll see you just now, which means I could see you in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 3 days, a week, or never ever again. Just now. Africa has mastered time. That's about the only thing we've mastered. This makes trust impossible. The fact that you believe someone's external to you, how do you trust something that's not in you? And that's why we put rules and laws and regulations in place in order to ensure that people behave a certain way to make trust easier. And you cannot believe that trust would settle every problem now. Why do people go to war? They mistrust each other. Who's going to press the little red button first and launch the missile? Thus, do you think it's safer to remain a little careful and a little watchful of interests perceived as separate? Watch your handbag when you sit on the train or the bus. Brother cannot be trusted. From this perception, you cannot conceive of gaining what forgiveness offers now, because forgiveness is always present, and therefore the gift is always eternally here now. The interval, you think, lies in between the giving and the receiving of the gift of forgiveness. Seems to be one in which you sacrifice and suffer loss, because you don't believe in the immediacy of it, not realizing as you forgive, you've just released it and you've just released yourself to be free. And so you see eventual salvation. Oh, I'll forgive now, and then one day when I die, I'll go home to Jesus. We'll sing Kumbaya and go in a circle and play violins with the angels. You don't see the immediate results. You don't realize you're released immediately. You're in heaven instantly, here now. And so we hold grievances, and how it binds us. And you see those old rigid people, watch them open their mouth and blah, blah, all their grievances come out. They haven't let it go. They're rigid. Their bodies become rigid as a consequence to not letting go. Hang out with a granny or a grandpa, find a chubby person. They don't hang on to shit. They may actually swallow too much of it, but they don't hang on to it. Salvation is immediate. It's always here now. Unless you so perceive it, you will be afraid of it, believing that the risk of loss is great between the time its purpose is made yours, and its effects will come to you. And what do you think you're losing? What are you risking loss on? If you forgive, what are you risking? That they do it again? When you forgive someone, does it mean you're going to allow them to do it again? If you do, then you're just an idiot. Okay, then you need to get a smack beside your spiritual bumper. To forgive is to forget. And if you've forgotten it, why would it happen again? If you forgive without forgetting, you're hanging on to it. You haven't forgiven. And now you're expecting it to happen again. In this form, is the error still obscured? That is the source of fear. So what is obscured? The source of fear. You are afraid. Salvation would wipe out the space you see between you still, and let you instantly become as one, joined in one mind. And it is here you fear the loss would lie. Why? Because when you become one, you lose your identity. And you spend your whole life trying to become independent. And now you think that when you truly forgive a brother or join with a brother, you are going to lose your identity. You're going to lose your entity, your identity. Yes, that's the whole purpose of salvation, is to lose the body-mind identity. Why do you want to hang on to this device that has given you nothing but suffering, that traps you in space-time, trying to make a living, trying to survive, trying to stay alive, when just melt into the self, join with your brother, one, Christ, and you as one. What is there to hang on to? What do you think this world could still offer you? What do you think what perpetual happiness can this world offer you? What perpetual happiness has it offered you? Moments, yes, but has it given you the permanency of it? But be still and know I am, and you'll know the permanence of the awareness of the stillness of the Christ. You. Do not project this fear to time, for time is not the enemy that you perceive. Unless you keep looking in the mirror, in which case it will be. But then that's vanity that needs to be punished by yourself, because it's what made you different and special, and all specialness must come to an end. Time is as neutral as the body is, completely neutral, except in terms for what you see it for. If you would keep a little space between you and your brother still, then you would want a little time in which forgiveness is withheld a little while. So I get up, post that thing the other day, put the two pills, red pill, wake up instantly, blue pill. Which one do you want to take? You'll take both. Put them in your pocket and fuck it up properly for another couple 100,000 years before you take the red pill, when it becomes unbearable. Because we want to think, we really think we're going to fix this mess, because there's beautiful sunsets and beautiful oceans and beautiful forests, and we want to hang on to that little piece of paradise. You have no idea what paradise is. This world certainly isn't. We love going to the bush and safaris and stuff until you imagine yourself being the gazelle getting eaten up alive by the lions. Then I wonder if you'd enjoy it that way too. Call it nature. Fuck all natural about nature. Oh, it's God's nature. God had fuck all to do with the forests and the oceans and the world. Nothing. Other than that, it was you asleep. You made this whole mess. So beautiful, the forest, yeah. Not if you're a spider. Not if you're a snake. Not if you're a little rabbit. Or the fox trapped in the snare. Then it's not beautiful anymore. But that's how we get trapped in this shit. So we want to hang on to our autonomy. We want to hang on to our physicality. We want to hang on to our identity. Unless we meet a savior, James Bond or a Jesus, then we'll just give our lives to them, because then we'll just melt into them, and then, then you complete me, and then it's amazing, And then now we're ready to give it up to a concept. And that's why so many course teachers, especially women course teachers, fall in love with Jesus, and they become the replacement for their failed special love relationships. So now they know they're not going to ever be happy with a man again, because it didn't work out in the past. Why? Because they didn't trust themselves and trust the man. So now they just deny this, and then now they love Jesus. And then they post pictures of Jesus like with a six-pack and looks like an Italian model. Because of course the pictures of Jesus 500-600 years ago, the pictures of Jesus we become accustomed to was all Italian art, Roman art. Of course, he's this hot as hell Italian god, Of course, he's slender, not too much muscle, because then you're going to be intimidated. It's preposterous. This is what this course community does. They've turned this thing into another cult. They've turned this thing into another religion. Don't you be that. If you're following this teacher, be true to thyself. What do you think you can possibly preserve in your life that is so amazing that you need to hang on to your grievances and blame the world for all the shit that happened to you in the past that's never existed except in your idea of space and time. And this but makes the interval between the time in which forgiveness is withheld from you and given seem dangerous, with terror justified. And so why? Because you keep beating yourself up, and because you haven't truly forgiven, and if you haven't forgiven, you can't forget. And if you can't forget, you will repeat it. Yet space between you and your brother is apparently only in the present. When you become here, when you're present in the now, you now become aware of space-time. Other than that, you're in it. So you're not aware of it, just like a fish in the ocean isn't aware of the water until he gets plucked out after eating wormy. Then he gets, oh shit, not in the ocean anymore. And so space and time is the space you perceive between you and everything else. Like I've asked you before, what's the distance between you and your heart? Well, that's the distance between you and God. There is no distance between your heart. Your heart's within you. God is within you as you are in God. And so the space between you and your brother is apparent only in the present now and cannot be perceived in a future time. Because where are you experiencing your brother? Investigate. Where do you perceive me right now? So imagine me in the future. Where are you perceiving me in the future? I've gone to some ashram and I'm now teaching you at your favorite ashram. Where is it? In the future, where? It's in South America, in Machu Picchu. It's Luigi's in Machu Picchu now, in March next year. Ooh, wonderful. Yay. Okay, so now, where am I? Where are you seeing me? In the future. Where's the future? In your awareness. Where's your awareness? Here now. It's always here now. Everything is experienced here now. So whether you think you're seeing me, or you're imagining me, or I'm here now with you always, as is God, as is Christ. No more can it be overlooked except within the present, now that you know it's always experienced in the here now. Your past, where do you experience your past? In the here now. Where do you imagine the future? Here now. Where's the hurt and the suffering happening? It was in the past. Where are you experiencing it? Here now. You're replaying it. So when you replay your misery and you retell your story of misery and of suffering and of unhappiness, okay, where's the past? It's here now. You're repeating it. And if it's here now, what's your future going to be? More of the here now. And what's your here now? Miserable. Telling the same old unforgiven stories. What are you doing? Recreating it. Step out of it. That wasn't enough. Step the fuck out of it. Teacher for God. That word. But you need the gentle spiritual approach. Teacher for God. Step out of it. You deserve better. You deserve to be happy. We talk to you in nice spiritual terms. Let's put on some angel music. Let's hold hands. Let's tell our stories of suffering. Because there's no secrets in the mind, which means let's tell all our secrets. Let's share our suffering over and over and over and over the fuck again. Stop it, for fuck's sakes. Get out of it. Out, demon. Get out, demon. Get away, Lucifer. It's Lucifer. It's you replaying your shit story over and over. Get out of it. Come on. Why are you doing this to yourself? Does it feel good? It feels good to your ego to tell the miserable story because it gets attention. It validates its existence. That's why it feels good. The ego's validating being real. It's not. Out. That's why the gentle teachers don't work. You just got fucking fright, didn't you? Yeah, exactly. You scared the bejesus out of you. Future loss is not your fear. The present joining is your dread. Because what happens to you when you join? You dissolve. This is why this world is still, because no one wants to give up their autonomy. Imagine when you finally awaken to Christ's mind. There's no Jesus, first of all. There's no Jesus, there's no Christ mind. Christ mind is pure awareness. There's no activities happening in it. There's no bodies happening in pure awareness. There's no past, there's no present, there's no universe, there's no planet. There's just pure light of awareness. And when you return to pure light of awareness, There's no history of ever having existed. There's no mommy and daddy and Dorsey and brother and sister and doggy and cat and lover and husband and lover's husband. And there's all gone. There's no history. There's no story. There's nothing to forgive. You weren't a hero. You didn't score more brownie points. St. Peter didn't welcome you with an embrace and he pinched your bum. There's none of that. There's nothing just light. It's just the eternal bliss of being, the infinite lightness of being. And you don't want that. You want to be special. You want to be a special person, but you want to be a happy, special person. And you want Jesus to love you and Jesus as your boyfriend and or girlfriend. Maybe Jesus as a woman, Josephine. Or maybe you like boys too, in which case, yeah, fine. To forgive is to forget you've ever existed. And to be free as the spirit you are, abiding in God's spirit as God is spirit abiding in you. Spirit is just light. No memory in it, no memory of nothing, because memory is past, present, future. And the eternal now doesn't have a past, present, future. It's the eternal now. The word Christ and the eternal now and God are one, synonymous, one word. Who can feel desolation except for now? And where are you feeling it? A future cause as yet has no effects. So what are you doing? You're replaying it. And therefore it must be that if you fear there is a present cause, you stay in it. And it is this that needs correction. Or Joanne, the word, correction, reframing. Not a future state. Nothing to fix there. The plans you make for safety are all laid within the future, where you cannot plan. Take it from a dude who's gone and studied and has a doctorate in strategy. Planning. What do you think strategy is? And guess what? I no longer use it. I simply abide and allow it to be shown, and then I act. No purpose has been given it as yet. And what will happen has yet no cause. Who can predict effects without a cause? If you awaken now, what future is there that you still need to undergo? If you awaken in this lifetime, what other lifetimes are you going to live, or are you going to script when there's no more script when you awaken to the Christ? So why do you want to predict them? The spiritual community loves this shit. We're going to draw some angel card and look in some crystal ball and read your palm, and we're now going to channel to the Palladians and speak to Zork, who sits alongside Abraham, and now we're going to be seeing your future. You're fucking mad. You're just mad. Batshit fucking crazy shit. Stop. Step out of this. There is only the self which is the Son of God, the self which is abiding in God, which is God's kingdom, the self which is the eternal now, awareness of being aware. That is Christ. It is pure awareness. There's no effects, there's no future, there's no past, there's nothing to predict. I'm going to go to some spirit world library and you're going to now read the Akashic records. No one's ever seen a fucking Akashic record. What are you on about when you talk about that shit? You read it in a book, yes. Tales from Atlantis, yes, that book, yeah. It was channeled by. Absolute nonsense. What record is there of the eternal now? What is an Akashic record? What are you keeping record of? An illusionary past? Don't you want to be forever present in that which is the awareness of awareness, the awareness of you and your source, God, as one? What else could you possibly want? That is, seek the kingdom of heaven, and all else shall be given you, because it is everything. There is nothing else. And who could fear effects unless he thought they had been caused? Someone did them to me, and judged disastrous. And when you're judging it in your awareness now, and therefore you're recreating it now. The belief in sin arouses fear. Why? Because you're projecting it. And like its cause, it's looking forward, looking back, but overlooking what is here and now. And what is here and now? The I am, the essence of what you are. Yet only here and now is its cause must be. Because you are both cause and effect. And you are the effect of God. and you are the cause of your illusions. But when you realize effect and cause are one, what are you? The eternal now, the essence of the Christ. What future is there? What distance is there between you and your brother? Your brother's fractions of you awoken in the self, in the Christ mind right now, return to one. Let go of the identity, let go of the specialness. It only here and now its cause must be if its effects already have been judged as fearful. And so what do you do when you're judging? You remain in the present fear. And in overlooking this, is it protected and kept separate from healing. And the reason you keep suffering is because you won't let it go. You keep repeating it. You don't release by repeating it. You release it by understanding it, realizing you caused it, forgive it, and never not say another word about it. And when it comes again, and when it wants to trap you in the identity, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Return to the eternal now. To whom does this thought appear? Am I aware? Whom am I? You said once, you said but once, who am I? And follow that I thought. Follow the I. And you just sink. You go into the abyss. Oh my God, the abyss, it's so dark. Go. And you'll see it's not dark. It's where the light comes from. It is pure light. The abyss is the only part of you that is true. Sink. Sink and surrender. Sink into your heart. Sink into the abyss. Sink into God. For a miracle is now, and it's here in your heart. Always here now. It stands already here in present grace. This book is not just throwing words at a page to make it poetic. It's here now in present grace. And what is grace? The awareness of awareness, the awareness of God's essence, all pervading as the very essence of what we are. Within the only interval of time that sin and fear have overlooked, but which is all there is to time, the illusion. It's always here now. You've seen me explain it this way with my Chinese chopsticks. So you think you're born on this day and you think you're traveling through time. You even may have realized that you're sort of revolving the season, like the seasons. You're on a loop and you keep repeating the lessons. You seem to be born one day and you're going to die one day and you're somewhere you're in between. What you don't realize is you're always here now. As my finger moves up and down, it hardly looked like I'm moving it because it's always at the same plane. And it's on this plane that you then do the cross plane. And the vertical being the Christ mind, and the horizontal being the illusory construct of the ego, space, time, matter. And yet, what happens is as this bar is raised, we awaken to self in what appears to be time because we're always here now. The working out of all correction takes no time at all. The miracle is instant. Yet the acceptance of the working out can seem to take forever in the mind trapped in time. But when you become more and more present, when you practice silent stillness becomes you. It becomes your new awareness of what you are. You replace the silent stillness. It replaces the identity of you as a being traveling through space and time. The personality starts to melt. It goes quiet. Not more spiritual. Don't confuse the two. There's no such thing as acting spiritual. Acting spiritual is still acting. Don't act, be. Be authentically. Be as you are. If I try to be anything different to this, I wouldn't come across authentically. And it wouldn't be believable. The change of purpose the Holy Spirit brought to your relationship has in it all effects that you will see. And if I look back on my personal life and my holy companionship over the last 15 years, it's been a companionship that has challenged the highest level of conscious awareness, space-time. Because the physiology couldn't collapse the space-time. And so as a consequence of not dominating the illusion of space-time, it had no choice but to, at first, resist it by attacking itself and its mirror. And only as time proceeded and it couldn't shift it, and it already dedicated its life to the holy companionship, the holy relationship, it realized replacing it with another is just going to do it's you, it's all you, no point. Hang in there. And started to realize the mirror in it. And it had no choice because of the dedication to truth to break the old reason. And it wasn't as drastic as I'm imagining a break, because it was a very gentle letting go on. You come into each other's space, and this one caught in space-time, that one just through time. And you actually melt, and you offer each other a little bit of it, and you almost change roles, but not quite, because you're still bringing the old identity and shifting it with a new one. And then in that, both identities melt, and they actually dissolve into the oneness, and space-time collapses because you're now starting to experience each other as awareness. And yes, the connection and the physicality and the space-time still tries to play its remnant of old fantasy idea, which is fine because it's about connection. It is no longer about role play, because all of that just sleight of hand, illusion. And that requires trust, or you won't allow it to happen. You'll try and control it. If you don't trust, you try control. And people who are controlling are untrustworthy. The control freaks in this world don't trust. And that's why nothing ever works according to them, because only they can do things their way, and they think they're doing better. And yet there's billions of us on this planet. And so at least 30% of control freaks. And what have we done to this planet? We've ruined it. No, it's not real. We've ruined it. Why? Because of control. Everybody thinks they know better. And you can see the relationship in the effects of in your relationship, not just in your holy companionship, but with everyone. You start to realize people aren't impacting on you anymore. And yet you're impacting on them because you're bringing through the light of awareness. They can be looked at now. Why wait until they unfold in time and fear they may not come, although already here? The eternal is always here now. You have been told that everything brings good that comes from God. And yet it seems as if it is not so. Good and disaster, or good and disaster's form, is difficult to credit in advance. Nor is there really sense in this idea. It's absurd. If God had nothing to do with this planet, why would he create disasters? Throw that stupid concept away. It's our script as ego mind playing out. God has no need for us to prove our worthiness to him. He knows his son is simply dreaming a dream that never happened in time. God would have you awaken now and forget this has all happened in your awareness, because God knows you only as his son. He's not aware of you as a body, mind identity on this world called XYZ. He's aware of you, the essence of all of us as one. It's just simply dreaming a dream that never happened in time. The prodigal son hasn't left. He's just dreaming he has. Why should the good appear in evil's form? This is just a preposterous bullshit religious made-up idea. And it is not deception if it does. Is it not deception if it does? Its cause is here, if it appears at all. If you see a catastrophe in the world, trust me, it's the collective mindset creating it. We want to blame the terrorists and them, and it's the collective mindset. You look at your president, you think he's an arsehole. It's the collective mindset selected it. The world is a mess because the collective mindset of the world. The COVID. COVID is the fact that we felt powerless. And how many people in this world was just wishing half the world away and waiting for the rapture and waiting for the end of the world? Well, it happened. It happened for 2 years, but of course it's not over. Give our power away to stupid concepts and ideologies and ideas and shit that makes no sense. We laugh at children's fairy tales, but we live our own. We live our own as adults, and man, we're there every Sunday giving out money away. And we say children are children. What's an adult but a grown-up child that hasn't actually figured out that it's the same thing? It just has more stuff in its brain, but it's the same nonsense. More rigid, more frigid, and definitely more full of shit. Why are not its effects apparent then? Why in the future? And you seek to be content with sign and with reasoning. You do not understand it now, but you hope that you will someday. And that's religion. They're summed up in 2 sentences, and the dogma of this world. And then its meaning will be clearer. This is not reason, for it is unjust, and clearly hence a punishment until the time of liberation is at hand. And that's why we wish for death as we get older, because we believe death is liberation. And we hope that because of our little belief system that there's maybe going to be 7 virgins or 1 little Jesus waiting for us at the right hand of the Father when we cross over. But we don't know. And that's why, as much as you believe, it's the heavy believers that when they get close to dying, that little shit fear comes in, because now, fuck, I hope I wasn't wrong. And you can see it on their faces. No matter how much they believe, that fear always kicks in. That's why they come back. Given a chance, a purpose for the good, there is a reason. There is no reason for an interval in which disaster strikes to be perceived as good. Someday, but now in form of pain. There's no reason to suffer. Let it go. Let it go, forgive, so that it's gone from you. This is a sacrifice of now. And we sacrifice now all the time. How many of us ever live in the here now? Always worrying about the past, always worrying about the future. And so what do we do in our here now? We drag the past and the future into the here now, and the here now is no longer the now. It becomes lost in translation, lost in space, time, matter, which could not be the cost the Holy Spirit asked for what he gave without a cost at all. He's just saying, be thyself, knowing him. Yet this illusion has a cause, which, though untrue, must be already in your mind, and thus you're experiencing it, because you only experience your mind. It's all mind. The entire universe is mind. And this illusion is but one effect that it engenders, and one form in which its outcome is perceived. This interval in time, which is what the universe is, when retribution is perceived, where you beat yourself up to be the form in which the good appears, is but one aspect of the little space that lies between you, unforgiven still. Because when you forgive it all you'll see is the disappearance of the universe, and know yourself as that which is God's Holy Son, the extension of God's eternal love. Be not content with future happiness. It has no meaning, and it is not your just reward, for you have cause for freedom now. What profits freedom in a prisoner's form? Why should deliverance be disguised as death, which is what it is for 99% of the people in this world? Delay is senseless, and the reasoning that it would maintain effects of a present cause must be delayed until a future time. And that is all that is merely the denial of a fact that consequence and cause must come as one. Look not to time, but to the little space between you still, you and your brother. To be delivered from and realize you're experiencing each other in your mind. All of it, not just your holy companion, the entire world in your mind, in your awareness. Be here now, realize, set it free. And it will be free because you have the power of God's Holy Son. Why? Because you're but one fracture of the Son. And yet within it is contained the whole, because in one part is all of it, and all of it is one part. Return to that. And do not let it be disguised this time. And so preserve, because its form is changed, and what it is cannot be recognized. Why not? Because it's seen as form. Form is changed, body, mind. And so awareness has become space, time, planets, universe, solar systems, planet Earth, sentient body, mind. All that awareness is the continuation of awareness. The minute we become sentient, that continuation of awareness seems to be the continuation of thought split up. And yet thought arises and subsides, ebbs and tides. And yet it's because our awareness is either on it or not. So the rising and the dipping of thought is attention, no attention. Attention, no attention. Awareness, no awareness. Return to the pure awareness of the eternal here now, that which you are, the Holy Son of God. The Holy Spirit, your Holy Spirit, the essence of what you are's purpose is now is yours. So you and Holy Spirit are one. Should not his happiness be yours as well? Absolutely it should. Stop there, do a question.